Welcome to another episode of AI Ranch. My name is Evalds Urtans, and we are talking about AI and business and other things in this podcast. Today with me, I have Andris Lanka, who is the businessman with over 30 years of experience, mainly in the language educational business, but also in translation, conferences, real estate, and so on. He is currently running the largest language educational business here in the Baltics called the Language Teacher Family. They have millions of followers in TikTok and Instagram. They have been teaching tens of thousands of students over years. And lately, he's also been focusing on AI-driven tools to enhance his business. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I read that you actually established your company during a difficult period. And there was an economic crisis, then later there was housing crisis, then COVID, which changed a lot of things in your business. So how do you deal with crisis? What lessons have you learned
That's a
during
good
these years?
question. That's a good question. Just keep swimming. That's all I can say. Well, basically, one thing that I've learned, and I've been in business for over 30 years. Unfortunately, every other crisis is kind of different in itself. Like, yes, in 90s when we started the business, we didn't know much and we didn't know what to do and how to do things. And there was a big disparity between the Eastern sector and the Western sector in Europe. But then, for example, when COVID hit in 2020, even I wasn't ready. Like, we lost 90% of our business in one day.
What the business was like before COVID?
Everything was in person. So we had in-person classes in Latvia alone. That's our home residence. We had 16 different cities where we were operating at. And so suddenly in one day, everything was stopped to a halt. And even though next Monday we were ready to go on Zoom and all these digital platforms, it actually took for the general audience about 8 months to convert to that. Meanwhile, I was paying for office space, staff, and so on, and I think we burned through around 200,000 euros of savings and money. So it was like a real tough time. So yes, there are some patterns in crisis situations, but then again, what I'm seeing, there's always a newness factor to each of them. Something that you're like simply not prepared for. Like, if I can say there's one pattern that or one lesson that we can take away from crisis management or how to deal with those situations is buffer zone. And that's exactly what kills most of small businesses because we leverage ourselves to extreme heights and depths. And so then when a difficult situation arises, we don't have the financial bandwidth, we don't have the buffer zone to last through the winter. And that's why many small businesses here in Eastern Bloc, they go under and they have to start from scratch again, whereas in the Western world, they have some extra savings and some financial leverage that they can use during the off time.
Yeah, it's something that I have heard here in the Baltics, also in other industries like in construction, that there are some evil developers that look for construction contractors that have some turnover which is close to the project costs, and then they hire them, and then they deliberately don't pay them, and then they go under, and then they get for free basically projects,
Yes.
which is an evil way to make business. But
I heard about one big Brazilian company that produces cement, not giving names, but that was their strategy. Actually, they would be looking at somebody like, okay, so we're looking to build a factory. Would you do a project like a draft of that? And then, of course, you'd quote them for cheaper, just thinking that you're going to get the whole job, but then you just take the little part of it, the drawings, and say, okay, thank you. No, yeah, that's a short-lived strategy. No, I personally believe in reaping and sowing, and no, I want to.
so the buffer and this like pillow of at the times of uncertainty. That's something important. But how do you keep the team motivated? What was the situation in your businesses? Did you had to let go of everyone, or you somehow kept some?
No. We had, well, the during crisis, let's say, when things become difficult, the leadership and the management of company has to be financial. Because when, for the lack of a better word, when shit hits the fan, then it's really about numbers. It's not about relationships so much, it's about numbers. And it's not even about clients. It's really about numbers. What is profitable, where we're losing money? What should we be closing down, and what should we be continuing? And then from there, unfortunately, there are times when you have to figure out who you're throwing overboard. Are you jumping overboard yourself, or you're cutting some costs and firing some people? For example, during COVID, I had to cut half of our team in-house and then rebuild it from there later. But that's unfortunately, in a business setting, that's our responsibility is about making money and not incurring losses. And so that's what you do.
Okay, and how the business looks right now, and what were the challenges?
The business now is actually very good, because post-COVID, when the conversion and a mass adaptation to digital learning tools became widespread and a norm, in a sense, what COVID did actually fast forwarded 10 years or even maybe 2 decades. Because
speed up the adoption?
Yes, because general mass perception of digital tools and distance learning was kind of, oh, that must be secondhand or not so good quality and stuff. But now that we experienced 21 and 22 distance remote work and whatnot, people are very open and accept the new medium of distance learning, and so that helped a lot. And that, as a result, of course, opens borders. Now with social media, we're able to target students from Mexico to New Zealand. And also our teachers are now located exactly from Mexico to New Zealand and all the way through Europe. So
now you became international. Before you were local, basically.
We were somewhat local. We were in several countries already before COVID, but now we are truly international school, both from a staff perspective and also from client perspective. Yeah.
At least in Baltics, there are not many social media accounts with over 3 million followers on TikTok, Instagram, and so on. So how did you do it? What were the key strategies you used?
I think the key to our success, so we have currently, at the time of speaking, we have 1.6 million on TikTok, over 1 million on Instagram. That's on Language Teacher Family, that account, and we have several brands tied to it. So all together, that would be over 3 million. I think there are several aspects to our success. First, the brand face, the person of the brand was not me, it was my wife. She's more beautiful. Since girls actually do better on social media. Us guys, we have to resort to YouTube or whatnot. So that would be one. But then again, 30 years of experience. And that resonates. People see that we're not young kids on the block. We've been around and we've been focused on that field. Just like you, when you talk about AI, you may not have Stanford or Harvard logos behind your back, yeah, but people see that you know the field. And that resonates. You may not say so much, but people know. It communicates over through your message on videos that no, they know what they're talking about. Okay, and we do. We've been 30 years in the field, and so that is one. And then also another thing that we didn't cheap out on is we have a full-time video production team. We have ways of explaining things that are not typical. And I would say another aspect was that our identity in who we are and how we're going to present the message was already established. A lot of new people who start now on social media, they're still trying to find their voice. We knew our voice, what we're going to be like already before we went on TikTok. And then it just so happened that in 2021, when we started TikTok and Instagram, at that time, the niche was still kind of brand new in a way. And because the major lesson that people can still duplicate today is we were different. So if anybody's listening to this and thinking, okay, what chance do I have? I can't go back to 21 and my niche seems to be overpopulated already. No, look how you can be different. Because it's not about being the best. It's really about being different.
That goes against what I have learned over years. So your perspective on that. So there's this famous Apple designer, Johnny Ive. So he has this famous quote about the Apple product. So everybody thought that when the Apple Watch came out that it will be round, right? But it is like squared, exactly like Android, whatever. Even worse battery than Android. So when he said, it's very easy to be different and unique, but it's very hard to be better. Basically, what matters is be better than others, like to beat them. So
yeah, but in the presentation, see, what John Ive was also talking, in his case, he was referring to specifically to design. Yes, you have to have good product or good service. That is the baseline of everything, the foundation, and that in many cases is actually the factor why people are not succeeding, because their product or their service is not really good quality. And so
you're saying just with the unique and different without being almost one of the best, it will not work.
Just
like the uniqueness and being different is just on top of being better than others.
I would say they kind of go hand in hand. You have to be professional of your field. That's why a lot of young kids nowadays do not do well on social media. They're short-lived stunts, simply because they don't know the field. They started reading those business books 5 minutes ago. They listen to Hormozy, they listen to Russell Brunson, they listen to the big boys on the YouTube, and now they're going to be their business consultant thing. And it's obvious they're running out of what to say very quickly. And there's no depth to what they're saying. You and I, like for example, you could be talking about AI. We could be timing, like we could time you how long you can talk about AI, okay? And probably you run for a couple of weeks before you would run out.
Yeah, will be because you are podcast.
Yes, because you've been in the field. But then and then the second part is there are great professionals that are still doing not so well. And the reason they're not doing so well is because their message sounds the same like everybody else. And that's where that different comes in.
That comes from the listeners might not know, like at least we will touch this later, but you have written books about and basically you positioned yourself as a marketing specialist as well, right?
Kind of, yes, because for all these years we also have had the opportunity of consulting small businesses, and then after a while you see that their common problem is marketing and sales. And so at some point I just compiled all my nuggets that I've accumulated over the years and put it in one book and called it Never Buy One Or.
So this is we'll talk about ores, but this is kind of valuable coming from you with this depth. So then how would you explain Johnny's Ive quote?
Well, Johnny Ive, in a sense, see, this is it. It will be interesting to see the whole context, what he was referring to. But when we are looking at his work, they were different. Like when Apple launched an iPad and what was it? iPod. Yeah, the iPod came and well, Macs since the beginning of times were different. And the layers of them being different, yeah. Like I don't know, and you can correct me if this is just a fairy tale, but I had heard about I've heard about early Apple computers that one of the reasons they became popular was that after a while, technicians that opened it up and looked into that, they saw that how well it has been being made also on the inside where people don't see. So that's also being different. So the different factor is sometimes it can be how much attention you pay to detail. If your general market, your competitors are not paying attention to detail, then you are different by paying attention to detail, and that will result in you becoming being noticed. It can be as simple as voice. Like if everybody's talking as fast as Russell Brunson, then of course, yeah. Like see, currently, even if you're jacked like Alex and have a T-shirt like him, you wouldn't do well on the internet because he has already taken that persona and milked it. Okay, so but because you're wearing a cowboy hat, you are unique, and that is different. And people will notice, at least will give at least the initial attention, and then, of course, the long-term game is in the depth and the skill that you possess and that you have acquired.
So is it in a nutshell good marketing and way how to access the market by that way?
Well, you have to think and you have to pay attention to marketing. And unfortunately, the times when I'm the best blacksmith in my village and I'm the only one, because I'm the only one, are gone. We live in a digital world where everything is at our fingertips, and we have to wear several hats, not just our professional hat of knowing our field, but also how to position the message.
So let's talk about building personal and business networks. I have heard many times that you have traveled constantly across the globe, running a couple of businesses in different locations. And you also, as we can talk about that if you want. I know you're going to meet Alex Hormozy as well, right? And you have met him.
We're going to their meeting in Vegas, yes, in a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm. And these conferences and so on. So, like, what kind of skills, what kind of knowledge you have gained from building these networks over years? What could be useful for other entrepreneurs to realize about doing these kind of relationships?
Well, with Hormozys, it's simple. You just have to be making him over $1 million a year with your businesses and pay them 10 grand. I'm going there with my wife, so they accept anybody that fits in that criteria, and so that's just buying a ticket to. But I had the privilege of messaging privately with Alex before he became a big shot, but that was also just a lucky strike, nothing much, but. Great example of focus, but from his side. But these big networks, what I've noticed is the formula there is a lot of times, especially when you come from, let's say, a disadvantaged sector, if I may say, like Eastern Europe. In order for us to open Western doors, we have to understand we'll have to be giving from our side first and for a long time until we get noticed. So, for example, there was a time before COVID when I was running over 30 events around the world for a public speaker in the States called Danny Johnson. She did these motivational kind of speaking events. And so we run everything outside the States, from Canada to Australia. And so with her, we went to study at her conference for about a year, 5-6 times a year. We showed up, and of course, after a while, you start noticing, oh, okay, these people are not here just for pictures. They're here actually to study and to implement things, and then they hear the results that we're implementing, and that sets you apart immediately, because there are a lot of people that are fan club people. They will go there for pictures. And go there for the maybe quick videos that they can post on their social media. But as a speaker, you notice people that keep coming back, and you know even more, you notice people that then send testimonials saying, okay, I learned this from you, I put it in practice, and this is the result. That's already a different category. And you do that over a year or 2 or 3, you will get noticed. And then, of course, a relationship starts.
You mentioned, I agree that that might be a good strategy of giving something to these network connections, not expecting to get something from there initially. So, what did you give these they did help to do the for these connections before you started also getting something back?
Well, you have to make people money. For example, just recently I had a privilege of having Richard Koch, who is the author of numerous 80/20 principle books. He's a billionaire. His net worth of his investment portfolio is currently 1.6 billion with a B. He's 70 something years old, works pretty much solo. There's some consultants and some assistants. And I had him call in on a Zoom call and be with Latvian entrepreneurs for almost an hour, talking and answering some of our questions. And the way I got to that is actually by giving. That's the same with Danny Johnson. You have to be willing to invest big money at first into their products, into their seminars. Like, for example, with Richard Koch, he had a mastermind in October last year in Portugal. There was 21 people. Everybody paid $20,000, me including. That was a ton of money for me to pay for a 3-day seminar. We had 3 days together. He taught his investment philosophy, and then I came back. I bought 50 of his latest books. I gave them to my a group of business people that we meet. We took a picture together. I sent this picture to Richard. That immediately set me apart because how many people do you know that buy 50 of your books?
Yeah.
That immediately sets up, this person is different. And of course, and then we strike up a conversation. And then the next thing that set us apart, and then I think that was the pivot, at least to my mind, that was the pivotal aspect of him agreeing to call to this Zoom call, was the quality of questions. Because I read his books like homework. I read numerous, like I think I pretty much have every single book that he has published. And then I invested my time in coming up with quality questions, because people like him who write books, they notice people who ask quality questions. Because if anybody asks, so what's interesting about 80/20? Well, every other person has asked him in his life. But if you ask a different angle, and so we sent him 4 questions. And what I really loved, he said, out of those 4 questions, 3 he had never been asked.
Oh.
So, and that immediately opens the door. So first and foremost, it's a long-term investment game. You have to have money to invest in other people's business and what they do. And then, in simple words, make them money. And then from there on, it's also the quality of that relationship where you go in depth. And that sets you apart.
How do you choose these networks? Like, because like now, after what you said, I will look up him, right? But I didn't know about him. So, and I know Hermosi, but he's like the superstar, right? But how do you find these people that you focus on to building these networks?
I had the privilege of meeting Perry Marshall, who was the first to publish Google AdWords book in, I think, 2002. And that's how he became prominent in the marketing and sales world and Google AdWords world. And so Perry was the one that organized that seminar for Richard Koch. And last time the seminar took place was in 2012. And knowing that Richard is in his, let's say, later years of his life, I was like, I got to take this chance. And so typically a lot of doors in life open through money. Like masterminds, they're not cheap. But masterminds, you spend 2-3 days together with people that are all well advanced in their businesses. It's inevitable you'll be making connections and your name will be out there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you mentioned that already, that you build your now successful business together with your wife Gunita, and I know that in your business you have also your kids and the family. So how do you define the roles in the business? Do you have strict roles? Do you have how do you do this?
Well, by trial and error. You try one way and then you get burned, and then you try another way. Well, over everything. Relationship is over everything. Business is second. So I like this biblical principle. It's best to have little with peace than a lot, but a house full of feasting, but actually there is conflict. That's just my paraphrase of the Proverbs. But so we've had actually that principle in many cases. So, for example, with social media, it's best for us to publish 3 times a week, where we know that the correct answer is 3 to 5 times a day. But it's best for us to do it 3 times a week, but we have peace, rather than we have 3 to 5 stories and videos every day, but we're killing each other. Okay? It's not worth it. And so in life, that balance is the most important. And then, of course, knowing our roles. I am the one typically that takes risk. And Gunita, my wife, she's typically the one that sees how to continue the projects that I have started.
Yeah, but I think it's just a great example of how you are all working together, like good head of household, also head of business. So it's kind of, there's some parallels of that. But then let's go to the core of what we're discussing here in this podcast, the AI. And you've been using one of our platforms, the Pitch Patterns, for this video call analysis. We also help to generate the educational content, questions and statistics for the students. And we already had some interesting experiences where some of the teachers are not welcoming this very much. But how are you looking at this? Can AI improve this training, like the language learning experience and assessments, and where do you see it going?
Well, definitely for data aggregation, where we're analyzing large volume of data. I mean, this is an amazing tool. So what we're currently using with the help of Pitch Patterns is that we're listening to our students' lessons, and then we're using frequency list that starting with the most popular words in English, in the English language, and we're marking them off. And then after a while, we're seeing some gaps in their vocabulary, and then we're compressing, let's say, and for speaking simple language, we're compressing that material and creating a one-of-a-kind material for that particular student. That idea and that concept is amazing. And I believe AI will help education become more tailored and personalized in the future. Because you and I, if we sat down, let's say, for example, you and I sat down and we would like to study something about AI, I mean, I would have to start somewhere close to the beginning, and whereas you would be like towards the end of the book, okay? So why should you sit through 3 months of something while I catch up with you?
Yep.
And so I think that's what AI application is going to help from the very
everybody
beginning.
will be moving at their own speed, right? There will be a personalized experience. Like it will not be just, as you say, book page by page. Somebody would just skip over segments and go faster, right?
Yeah. So it will become possible to do personal education at scale, because nowadays that is possible only when you're very, very rich and you have these private tutors, and then they tailor every material to your ability and to your level of knowledge in that particular segment. But then this will become easier to do that at scale. So
This is
universities,
exactly what I think, at least from what I have been thinking about how AI and technology is changing the way we live. I think it's always like looking back like 150 years what the super rich had, and now because of the technology, everyone can access the same benefits.
yeah, there will be, let's say, such liberation of opportunity in terms of personalized education. That is the first and foremost. We're still ways out of knowing how to implement this phenomena into current educational system and to do it right, because like I'm on board of some universities and stuff, and pretty much everybody's still fighting it and being ignorant, on the other hand, on the other spectrum, having it overhyped to the extent that no, it doesn't deliver what you're saying. Like I still challenge everybody. I'm willing to pay $1,000 to anybody who sends me an email that has been written by AI that has better sales results as human. I have not seen it.
Oh, wait. So you will pay somebody €1,000 if they send you
If they send me an
AI?
email that has been like a sales email that has been created with AI and beats a human in the sales results, because what AI with AI, I think it was Cove. I forgot the name of the Cove AI creators. The guy was one of the guys in charge. I think he did Uber Eats, but basically what they touched upon, what kind of resonates, a lot of AI infrastructure is linear, whereas language isn't. We jump from things to things and everything, and so that's where, and even in our communication, even sales messages, the best sales message is not linear by point. There's multi levels of everything going on, and that's why it's so hard yet to, like, for example, in our field as language instructors. That would be awesome to do when we can arrive at the point where, let's say, there's a great teacher and he or she records her lessons, like builds a huge library, and then creates an AI persona that can reach masses. Because there are sometimes that's exactly the problem that stops a lot of people from achieving the result in their life, is that they do not have access to great teachers. So let's say there is a great chemist, okay, and that chemist lives in Romania, let's say, and when we arrive at the point where that's a legitimate and really well-functioning mechanism that I don't feel being like with a robot, and which goes off rail after a third sentence, that will be a true educational revolution. But we're still kind of ways out from there. And similar to sales messages in marketing, I have seen, initially 2 years ago, when it all started, came in the general public, initially it was fun to watch, my friends' English has become better. Friends that run businesses, suddenly their emails that I receive, their English is better. But after a while,
but is it the baseline? Like, basically, there's still, unfortunately, significant percentage of businesses that are not using AI at all, by the way.
That is true. And the worst mistake, second mistake, is they're using the free version.
Yeah.
Like, we don't use nothing free.
Yeah.
If we get an AI, we immediately go to a paid version. And
exactly. And just preparing to this interview, actually, I realized one extra thing. While preparing the material, processing it with GPT, I get a limit of how much I can use GPT 4.5, and then I realized that 4.5 is actually giving me better answers than O1 and others, and the models which are limited, which are costing money, they are the best ones, basically, which is easy to access, cheap, free, those are the worst ones.
So, but just as I mentioned, there is this element of overhypeness that the instrument can do, and as I said, in many results, humans can still outpace and out-deliver in terms of voice and persona especially. But at the same time, it's a great technological advancement that we should be learning and studying and thinking how to advance.
Yeah, the point where I wanted to make about the baseline, so I was thinking that still adoption rate is low, but as it grows, like right now, the average quality of content is, let's say, about like 50-60% quality. Now with AI tools we will have 70-80%, but if everyone is at that quality level, as you say, suddenly all of the emails become with a better language and so on, everything becomes the same, and then in order to access some kind of opportunities, you will need to push even further. So basically you use all of these tools, but then you need to have a larger box of your knowledge so that you would have this force multiplier of AI putting you in front of others in competition.
Well, I mean, it may not be the most appropriate analogy, but there are guys that like sex toys and these rubber dolls, okay, and then there are guys that like the real thing, okay, and the real thing is the real thing, okay, and that's what when it comes to sales, message, and marketing. We can go deeper why AI has difficulty. It's very, very difficult for AI to duplicate a persona and then build a personality. But there are several elements in communication discourse that create that, from conflict to interest to pattern and to flow of a story, that embody the whole result as such, and that's very difficult. We can aggregate material very quickly with AI. We can do research. We can gather some data that points, but to have a persona that converts, that is still ways out there.
I'm not really fully convinced that this doesn't work at all. I think it might be that it doesn't work for you, as you have this depth and professional experience, but at least the data which I have seen, still the AI generated personalized LinkedIn messages, which I hate.
See,
right?
That's exactly what it is. See, like for example, I've been starting to receive these messages from real estate agents that end up with the fact, oh, this was sent by my assistant. And I'm like, screw you. Even if I had a property to sell, I'm not giving it to you.
No, but they are even better. They're just not spam. So basically, what I do, these AI bots can scan all of your previous interviews, call your book, generate questions as you describe.
Yes, we've done that.
Questions which nobody has them, and actually even sometimes get response from you, and all of this this is possible. And maybe with your depth, you would not respond, but the data shows that still these systems are working on mass scale.
Unfortunately, we live in a shallow world. That is true. And a lot of people have not read books, and general mass market is actually very shallow thinking. And yes, for efficiency purposes, reaching more phone calls and stuff. Like the other day, I was hearing about this one company from this region that they're now launching in the States, and they're thinking of using AI for phone calls. And I have some friends in the States that are trying to do the same. And my personal hypothesis is human interaction is going to become more important even with the use of AI. Like now, when a human calls you, that's going to have night and day kind of related. Like, so we've talked about it, but so our listeners know, for our businesses currently, our closing ratio is around 40%. When we make calls, our average, and that's not one superstar. No, that's our team average, is 40%, and we're not selling. And we're the most, I would say, one of the most expensive in our region of the services, the price that we're asking for them. So for us to have 40% closing ratio, yes, it's a depth of knowledge in the scripts and human psychology as such.
Yep.
For an AI to mimic that, it's virtually impossible.
Yeah, but this is your
at the moment
product. There is easier products as well, and there is use cases where I believe I would be happier to talk with my pitch patterns robot call rather than human, because like there are cases where normally humans should not be on the phone lines of rescheduling the
yes, those kind of things. Yeah. Yes, totally. There are like these mass actions and deliverables that are simply not necessary. They're not unique, like reschedule, as you said, rescheduling or
debt
setting a point. Yeah. Well, or giving out information per such. Yeah, but let's say, but sales in most cases, especially when it goes to
but lead qualification. Like if because you know sales, you know marketing, this is a huge part of rejection there, which is natural part. Even you have 60% rejection, so that is just natural. But then if the super nice AI robot like quickly gets in some response from you, are you remotely interested in that? And then
No, see, let's go one step further or back. What many people make a mistake in is their social media or their marketing messages appeal to the wrong crowd. They're going for the views and the likes or the trend. Very often, why you have so much work of non-qualified prospects is because your marketing message appeals to everybody. When you narrow down your marketing message, you end up with very little waste, let's say, yeah. But you end up with people that actually resonate with you. It's all about. See, if we're not using the marketing message right, we're creating extra work then afterwards, and that's of course then we need AI tool. We need robots to clean up our mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the mess, where does it come from? It comes from the marketing message. So, and that, as a result, opens up this whole discussion of why are we looking for AI Jesus here? Because we are creating a mess here. So if we fix this mess, and this mess initially can be created not with AI Jesus, but it created with reading books, being a professional of your field, putting in the hours that you need to studying this true sales and true marketing, and how to be effective public speaker, and how to position your message in a way that the right people hear that message. Then you don't need the AI Jesus. You'll be okay with John the Baptist. Okay, so that is the bigger discussion here.
Oh, it's this inbound of quality leads because of great marketing. That's a sweet life, but the reality sometimes is not that clean. So I think still think there will be a place for these AI robots, and they will get better. They
Of course.
Already they can understand the emotions, even though European Union prohibited understanding
I heard
emotions.
that. Yeah, that's sad.
Which is crazy, as well as like self-driving cars and so on. Coming back to the language teaching education. So I heard from you that you see that there is this human touch, which is this high quality product. But then you also mentioned these AI avatars. So, like, if we would be at that stage, and I believe we are close to that stage, so how do you see this? Would it be that you would clone Gunita and she would just teach?
So we would clone. So my wife is the face of the brand, and of course, and she is that because she has the gift of explaining and teaching people. And so currently we're filming a lot of her lessons and then just storing it up. And then when technology advances to the point where the conversation becomes meaningful and not so robot-like, because the result, like if you're patient as a student, AI could teach you now even. Yep. I mean, it could. But the problem is people are not patient.
Yep.
They want the AI price, meaning the mass market cheap price, but they want to feel that I'm speaking with a real human. And that's where we're having the problem at the moment. And so we need, and when it gets there, I believe that will become a great opportunity.
And how far ethically would you take it? Like, for example, if there is these voice changers for Indian scammers, where they basically speak like a British accent and nobody understands that they are Indian scammers, but then you could make the face of your salespeople, the voice as a Gunita. Would you use it?
There will be. Most likely there will be cases. No, I mean, not most likely. It's 100% sure there will be people that will do that. But again, everything is short-lived. Sooner or later, if you're faking something, even with paintings, okay, sooner or later there comes an expert. Like now, I'm seeing these ads of our competitor schools that have created these AI robots that will be AI tutors, what they call. And I'm looking at their ads, and it's obvious 11 Labs, and I'm looking at, and I'm seeing like somebody's giving a TED talk of how you shouldn't be studying languages for 600 hours because there is this other app that you can do it in 135 hours, and I'm like, It's obvious it's robot generated. Unfortunately, again, masses are shallow. Not going.
But that's why they're doing it, because if it would not work at all, they would not put money there.
Well, and if somebody is only after money, then that's exactly what they should do. I'm also after peace. I want to go to bed and be proud of myself, and that I haven't sold shit to people or something that is not true and packaged it in a nice, fancy name. No, we've been in the field for 30 years. Most likely, we'll finish this field with this particular field. I want to be proud of our team and what we have achieved for other people.
But do you see in the future that we still have like human teachers, or do you think we will reach the point when these personalities will keep living, they will advance, and we will
I believe that's exactly the case. But let's look at it from a different perspective that I already mentioned. I think this is going to liberate some small language groups even more, and some professionals from disadvantaged areas that are truly professional of their craft or that particular field. Their voice will be heard. Whereas nowadays, education is also Hollywood. There are the rock star schools, and then there are the rock star people that get the publishing deals, and it's typically with English. What I believe one of the huge benefits that AI will bring is that the smaller languages will have a chance. That people who maybe are not as eloquent in English as, let's say, Simon Sinek or whatever, but they are truly professional of their craft, let's say psychology, and they come from Italy. Their voice will be heard, and they will have a great following.
Okay, but will it matter? Because you know as well as me that AI translation business has been it is taken over the traditional translation mainly, and it will be ubiquitous that we will be able to communicate in any language because of AI. Like maybe all of this learning of languages is unnecessary.
Well, I think one big revolution that universities around the world, especially the English-speaking universities, will have is they'll have to switch and accept people not based on their language merit, meaning IELTS, TOEFL, all these international exams, by definition, will have to go obsolete because no longer that will be the benchmark. Well, currently it is. You have to understand and you have to be able to produce, but with the help of AI, we will be able to forego the language requirement and focus on the field and the subject, and that is amazing.
Yeah, but still the question remains, so what do you think about importance of learning languages in future?
Well, back to my rubber doll and the real thing. There will always be people who will want to say things themselves. I believe it's possible to create an AI dad for my kids that is the most patient, the most understanding, has 16 degrees in psychology and empathy and whatnot. But I believe my kids will want me to touch them and to pat them and to hug them. And so that, I think, will always have the place.
That's also a fascinating direction of like fake and something real, and this has been developing, I think. But then, so you've been through different stages of technologies over the years. I believe you should have remembered how it was the dot-com bubble, the mobile phones, smartphones, yes. Like the Shopify, web stores, e-commerce, digital marketing. So looking back at all sorts of technologies before, do you see similarities with AI right now, or this is something different?
This is my, and I would like to hear your opinion on this, but I think what will, in the past 2 years, we've been looking at AI as this huge phenomena that's going to change everything. Whereas after these 2 years, I have a new theory that it's going to be just another app, but different layers, but it's going to still be the app level of solution of things. Apps did change a lot of things, but they didn't change everything, okay? A lot of things were changed, and we were using a lot of apps in our life, but it didn't suddenly turn the world completely upside over. Okay, and this is what general public currently
Do you
kind of lives.
remember that when the apps, smartphone apps came out, uh, did people tell that this will everything will be apps, or is it, or well, yeah, was it that way?
Just like now with AIs, every other day there was an app coming out, and of course now looking back, we're spending time on Meta, we're spending time on TikTok, like looking at the weather through apps and whatnot, and of course we will be using a lot of AI models for different purposes, but again, it's not gonna like this. There's this term called fear mongering, and a lot of, especially on TikTok, the marketing people are done away with. Marketing companies can close them. Okay, the graphic designers can go and kill themselves. Okay, there's no future for them. Okay, AI is changing everything. That's true. It's not true. I believe in 5 years, 10 years, we'll still have graphic designers, we'll still have marketing people. Yes, there will be smarter applications and uses of things, but...
Could be that there would be like 10 times, 100 times less of them needed.
Of course, like looking back, for example, with the translation, it's been 21 years I've had a translation agency, and in the past 2 years, well, actually last year, in the past 15 months, we have lost over 80% of translation volume, and now all we get is post-editing jobs as a translation agency, okay? And those...
train the AI to...
Basically to be better, yes, yeah. And so... that, of course, has sped up. And so, for example, now when I speak to translation students, when somebody thinks, oh, I'm going to go to university and study translation, I say, don't. That's a waste of time. As a father, I'm like, there's no prospects there. We will need 1, 2 translators in the random situations or something, yeah? But no.
We believe so. This is what we are heading to. Like you said, in 5 years, we'll still need graphic designers, we still need marketing, we still need all sorts of human roles, but they will be a lot less needed, I believe so. And it will be on the, I think it will be on the level of taking responsibility. Like if you're an entrepreneur where you want to take all of the responsibility, you could employ all sorts of AI systems to do it for you, but of course they'll not be always the best quality, or some problems arise, but then you could put, let's say, marketing specialist who will be responsible and will be using all of those tools, and his job will be very different from today.
Well, let's try to think before the years of when Facebook came on and YouTube. Let's try to remember 2006 and 7. Okay, yes, a lot of messaging and a lot of different things were done through newspapers, magazines, TV and radio ads, and now at the click of a button, we can be live on Facebook and streaming to the whole world. And multiple people have used it to great advantage. But then again, no, we're currently overhyping the effects of AI, and at the same time we're fighting it. Like there's this big chaos of things. Yeah.
I think it's even more complicated than that. As you know, we are also having this artificial intelligence association here in the Baltics. So we are monitoring the market in Baltics, in Europe, in all sorts of regions of the world. You say hype, but that hype is, I think it's early days actually, because the numbers are not there. Like the companies are not buying, the investors are not investing. So basically, it is mainly, I believe, on the marketing budget of these billions of investments from the big players. But so I believe the bubble will grow, and this.
Well, the bubble is currently in the States only, but generally here there's, of course, just like with everything, there is the reluctance to mass adaptation and proper use of those tools. Just like you mentioned when we rolled this out to our staff, saying, okay, let's now run AI models and try to train them to recognize where our students are at. We had our own teachers saying, no, I don't want to be recorded. And in a sense, copywriting is one of the top 3 issues with AI that will have to be dealt with, because both in arts or education and information, that is the easiest way to forego IP, intellectual property. And that is the aspect that once it's settled to a certain extent, then that will help the widespread adaptation of AI tools.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. So we can also move to what you already a little bit touched, the marketing aspect and your book, Never Buy One Or, right? And I read it and I remember some things kept in my mind. I remember there was one page where you say you never outsource marketing, and there was something more to that, right?
Well, it's a quote from the great Dan Kennedy, who's always said that never outsourcing marketing is like outsourcing sex.
Yeah,
You
that
shouldn't
was
be doing that. Yeah, yeah, your neighbor shouldn't be doing the things that you could do to your wife. So yeah, that's the same with about marketing. That's the dilemma. That's exactly the same pattern. A lot of small businesses pay money and give money tasks to marketing agencies to tell them, okay, bring me customers, okay? But the marketing agency at the same time, in the real world, for example, Agora Financial is one of the top copywriting agencies in the world. When their junior copywriter comes in the days past, when somebody starts working for them, the first year he only is given books to read and material to read and campaigns to read. They're not writing nothing. And these small businesses, they don't have the bandwidth to train and to give money to those marketing companies to acquire the voice of their customers and whatnot. Yeah, like no, but like we've done that several times as a test. None of marketing agencies have the bandwidth and the knowledge of the industry as we do, and they cannot mimic that. And the same what happens. No AI, or let's say from a different point of view, in order for AI models to be anywhere close to us, we have to provide them with immense amount of material that, of course, we have not recorded, we have not transcribed, and it's not out there. But when we do, then they will be able to mimic us. And so with that aspect, then we'll be able to deliver a better result. And so when it comes to marketing, it's best to do things ourselves. Well, let's say I'm from an educational perspective, I should be creating the messages for our marketing campaigns because.
So when you're talking about these digital marketing agencies, I kind of see a little bit different picture, and want to get your thoughts on it. Like I recently listened to a podcast with Eric Stenzenix, which is this marketing expert around here, also over I think 30 years or so, and so he said he got out of digital marketing when he observed that all of the digital marketing professionals started using algorithms where they put in X and they all get the same Y as an answer, and they just run it through and launch the campaigns in that manner, and there is no human touch, creativity in a way that he understands it. So is that kind of marketing you're talking about, or?
Well, that's the general aspect. See, the pattern that we're approaching AI with is the same as most small businesses approach marketing companies with. Is they think that with a little budget and little input, we can get this big, good result, and that is not true. Yes, marketing agency can be trained, but then you don't have the budget to train them for 6 months or 12 months to speak your language, to speak with your customer the way you speak. And the same with AI models. We give one lame prompt to a free AI model and expect a Shakespearean novel. It simply doesn't work that way. There's too little of input. But whenever we will gather the input to the extent that it is valid, then it's a different story.
How how the process itself. So outsourcing this marketing, right? So how much of it is like either outsourcing or doing it yourself, but how much of it is how much you are using in your businesses, the analytics, right? The data on the decisions, on how much it is like this human factor on creativity.
Well, what we do internally, and that's the whole premise of my point, is the storyline has to come from you. You cannot outsource that. The storyline, how you speak, the message, the the pain points of your field, the pain points of your customers, those come from you. It's very difficult for marketing agencies with a small budget to get to that level of depth. So what we outsource to marketing agencies is just simply pixels and placement of what we have created. Then basically things that I don't want to do because my biggest leverage is actually knowing the angle I should go into the market currently. Before COVID, we would do events around the world. And the success of events actually relies on knowing when to do what. So, for example, if you look in the events world, Tony Robbins is the big head of everything, okay? So during COVID, he was one of the first that immediately pioneered free Zoom calls to everybody around the world. And now he's coming back. Now in the past few years, you see, okay, he's coming back to big conferences again, okay? So you have to know the trends and you have to know when to start and when to go with things. And that's in marketing also. You have to feel the market. What is the nuance? Like, for example, 2 years ago, the nuance in our field here in Latvia was, oh, I was talking to this student, to this client, she had this problem, and this is what we did. Worked very well for about a year. Okay. Then we had to switch to, hey, we have studied and we've noticed there are several tips and tricks how to study and learn language better. There's a free webinar. We did that. At the same time, it may not work in the States. So you have to feel the market. You have to know what's new. We're back to the beginning of our conversation. In reality, oftentimes it's about being different, not some special nuance that nobody has thought of. No, just different. Like if everybody currently, like in Latvia, in one of our companies, it's event business, everybody's doing these big people events at small price. Okay. That's exactly what not to do. So when everybody is doing big people, like hundreds of people at an event for a small price, we launched completely opposite. Like there was like 600 people for $60. We launched 16 people for $4,000. Okay? Masterminds. You have to, sometimes it's as simple as that. It's just being different to be noticed.
Yeah, that the angle of different it is I need to think about it more. There is something to it, but at the same time I see a lot of because I'm also in university as an associate professor. I see a lot of young people thinking that being different, unique is basically the main thing, and basically you cannot get anywhere.
But it's being unique with the context. See, just because I have yellow hair, but yellow hair is not in style, what's the point of being different? But being different in the context, that's where is the essence.
We also recently, regarding the marketing, have had experience where we helped to generate contents for the websites based on context and so on, but then because of the way how he generated the actually Google is also monitoring all of this, and they just started down rank these websites, by the way. So we at the end we came up with a way, to introduce the human mistakes, use more expensive models, and get around this. But do you see already that the way how to access channels to access people through the marketing are being affected by AI already?
Of course there is. Like as I told earlier, I see emails have become, the English in the emails has become better, but at the same, and more volume to it and things, but at the same time, it lacks depth. Yes, there's the volume. It's very easy to use AI to create volume. But to have depth of thought, like just today, I was talking to a professor of medicine, and he was struggling with his students in university, and he agreed 100%. The easiest way is not to notice that it's a plagiarized article, or let's say an essay, is not because of the English is suddenly better. No, there's no depth. there's no original thought. To achieve an original thought that has congruency with your character and your experience, that's where the realness lies. Okay, so, and that's what I think people that have overhyped themselves about the use of AI, they forget. It comes from the same human psychology. Like, we're like, what should I tell my wife so that she sleeps with me? Like, that's cheap. Don't be a moron. Like, invest in herself. Like, invest in being a nice guy. Invest in flowers. Come show up at home. Like, where's the formula? No, how can I get this much value for this much, for this little input? That's the dilemma. I think people who will not try to be cheap and will want to play the game right will use AI to greatest advantage ever possible. Okay? But people who will apply this human psychology, I don't want to study, but I want to pass the exam, that's not going to work.
Yeah, I agree on that. That's great quote from you. Okay, so let's do some fun questions toward the end. We have a lot of them, so we'll see which ones we'll include at the end. If you were a bee, what's your flavor of the honey?
Manuka. Manuka honey, that's from New Zealand. Manuka is from New Zealand and Australia, originally from New Zealand. It's a special bush, and it's a story in itself. I would recommend anybody who has some 30 minutes of their time to go and Google that up. It's a great story of how in the 70s a scientist came over from England, discovered that Manuka bush has specific properties, and now, for example, Manuka honey, a simple jar, like on a market, you could buy that for probably $10, regular honey. Manuka goes for 50.
Is it that good?
It's different. It tastes like raisins, dates, and honey, and it has some healing properties to it. It doesn't get you high, but it's a great taste and a great marketing story too.
Would you rather be slightly late or extremely early?
Slightly late, because most people don't start on time anyway.
If you will have unlimited resources and capabilities, what kind of technology would you build?
I would say this is what we're working on now, is helping people to learn languages faster, and language assessment to be done. Currently, humans can outperform the mechanisms used for a language assessment. The fastest exam is like 3 hours long, whereas a human can do it in 15 minutes.
So languages, are they talent or hard work?
Oh, they're hard work for most people. I mean, there are people that are born, they're more adaptive to languages as a medium, but it's just practice.
Okay. So some of the personalities that have been in your life. So the Danny Johnson in one word.
Gift.
Alex Hormozy in one word.
Focus.
Donald Trump in one word.
Brute. That would be two
You're
words.
good at words.
Brute
So,
force, yeah.
Should men smoke cigars?
Yes.
Do you own guns?
Yes.
What would your superhero name be, and what would be the special power?
Andrew the Mighty. I don't know. That's a good question. Andrew the Mighty, who speaks all languages.
Superpowered, speak our language. So, how do you want to be remembered as a professional?
I would say that we changed, not exactly a nation. Nation is a very big aspect. Let's say changing a city or changing a field that we had, let's say a discovery, or we developed something that truly got this field higher up, like back in the history days, or music or art. There are moments like Renaissance and stuff where Michelangelo, for example, like it's obvious, like everybody will remember Steve Jobs and John Ivey and Mark Zuckerberg as well. Okay, those are people that affected the particular fields to have some part that some extent of that kind of influence and effect, that's what I would like to be achieve.
Why exactly shouldn't I buy one oar?
Well, you shouldn't buy one oar, because with one oar and that's the name of my book. That comes from marketing, actually from real estate world, where it's suggested never buy one door. In real estate, often the biggest competition is everybody's looking at this one apartment, whereas you could buy an apartment house of, let's say, 4 apartments, and it's not 4 times more expensive. It's actually just oftentimes even as little as twice more. But what you get is you get 4 apartments. You can rent out the 3, and they pay more than pay for your one. And then oftentimes also in marketing, people focus too much on one solution. Nowadays, the mistake is focusing on social media as the venue. Yes, it's working really well, but at the same time, the holy trinity of customer acquisition is actually not the likes and the views. It's the phone number, the email, and the home address. Because in those 3, I can communicate at my terms. I don't need Zuckerberg's permission, or I don't need him to pay him money to talk to my gazillion followers on Facebook or on TikTok. But if I have these, and that's what many people kind of overlook. They think too much about this one thing and forget that there's this other side that's still working as well.
Great. So I should buy at least 2.
Please do.
It was nice talking to you. Very insightful. Where do listeners can find you?
I'm on all social media on Andris Lanka and our language school, language teacher family, or the future name of our language school is going to be Lingvitus. It's all over the social media, and yeah.
Okay, great talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining another episode of AI Ranch. As a gratitude for our work, subscribe, like, share, and see you in the next one.